Welcome back to Cannabis Scandal with Jason Wilcox. It is now, I believe, Thursday or Wednesday. I'm losing track of the days of the week. I believe it's day 6. Stability testing again, year 2. Been out doing a lot of different things, doing a lot of running around. It was funny yesterday after the show, and of all shows, like I've been doing YouTube a long time, like really a long time, since 2007. So it was interesting that yesterday's show, though we were talking about politics and we were talking about federal legislation being turned over by movements, by we the people coming together and making change. That's what yesterday's talk was getting into in CBD. And I woke up this morning to find out that I've been banned in like 9 countries. So I had to stop and I had to think to myself, why would I get banned in 9 countries when we weren't really doing anything? You know, we were showing crystalline, smoking a bit of cannabis, but nothing that you wouldn't see on another cannabis show. But I believe that we were banned in other countries because we were talking about how we overturned the federal government of Canada's regulations known as the marijuana for medical purposes regulations. So anyway, I hope everybody's having a wonderful morning. Please share this around. I am running solo as always. Cannabis in Canada is really it's not a team. It's really a one-man show at this point, and it's kind of the best way to push it forward. I'm not sure what to do with this yet. I've had some offers to buy the company because it is a legitimate company. It's a legitimate media company that's non-distributing. So the reason I say this is because there's been offers put out there, and should I ever sell the company, Cannabis in Canada Incorporated, I will certainly let you know. At this juncture, there's no intent to sell. I intend to leave this to my daughter if it becomes successful and fruitful one day. But anyway, anybody buy a phone? If you get an expensive phone like an S9 or this was an S9, it was the latest at the time. Anyway, I dropped this last night, even though it had an otter on. The way that it landed, there was a couple rocks, I guess, on the pavement. And it must have landed just straight flat, and it cracked my screen. But I learned over the years, I've been with Rogers for like 15 years, and I've learned over the years to get insurance on my phones. So I have to go through the whole insurance process today, whatever that is. I got to phone them and get the number. Remember, always keep your phone box. If you get a new phone, keep the box, because if you want to apply the insurance to the phone, you have to have the little serial number that's on the back of the original box the phone came in, and you need the serial number off the phone, and you need the original phone, and you'll be able to get it, and you need the insurance. So I'm going to jump on here. Good morning to my friends on YouTube and around the world that are watching. Friends on YouTube, we were blocked in multiple countries yesterday. Didn't happen on Facebook. That I know of, that I was told about, but YouTube certainly let me know that I've been banned in other countries. Didn't tell me why. Wasn't for breaching community standards. I think we were just talking too politically about how to go about taking on the federal government legally, which is your constitutional right in most countries, most Commonwealth countries. You have a right to free speech, you have a right to stand up and defend yourself, and you have a right to challenge arbitrary and overbroad laws. So yeah, just that whole being blocked in other countries thing, it happens a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've done 800 videos on YouTube in the past 11 years. So I definitely am used to being blocked in other countries. Back in the day when I was teaching people just how to grow, just the very fundamentals, just, you know, about 600 grow videos up there, teaching people how to grow, that was when I was getting banned, because they didn't want other people learning how to grow in other countries. I understood that part. But yesterday's conversation, I looked back over the show, though it was a very long show, it was a 2-hour show, they banned us. They did not want our conversation in other countries. Why? I was talking about this yesterday, geopolitics, geo-legalization, geo-monopolization. All the Commonwealth countries are being monopolized by the same corporations that posted up here in Canada. Moreover, the big ones. Not so much the smaller guys. But the big guys are definitely, they're making their mark. They're starting to piss on trees everywhere and make sure everybody knows it's their territory. And anybody wishing to challenge them, unfortunately, they get what they get. I believe this is coming through on Facebook, but for some reason I can't find it. So I'm going to keep trying to find it and get into the chat. Oh, okay, that's strange. Watch again. So that's a dead link. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to find out my mess ups from this morning. Believe me, if you do 5 shows in a row every day, and remember, I'm doing this stuff like, again, it's being done for free and for testing, but it's also to hope to further the company down the road. But I can't figure out for the life of me where I'm streaming to. Can somebody? I guess nobody can really tell me where I'm streaming to. I'm baffled where I'm baffled where I'm streaming to right now. I apologize, friends. If anybody wants to shoot me a text message, or anybody watching that is a regular watcher, because I'm streaming to YouTube fine, but I cannot find this on Facebook. iHeartRadio, it's streaming fine. Oh, there I am. Okay, I'm back on my channel. See, now here's the other thing Facebook's done. Now, if you guys are wondering about is the war continuing against us? Man, I'm getting stronger every day, working, because there are plenty of fights lying in the midst, waiting for us. That's troublesome to me, and that ain't it either. But that's troublesome for me. I can find this on here, but yet I can't find it here. So I don't understand this. Share it around, please, friends, if you can, especially into my groups, Cannabis Canada, Global Growers Group, what other groups? We're going to unlock, I believe, the coalition and reopen the coalition group. We just closed it on Facebook, and we didn't close it, shut it down. We closed it as in just shelved it, just like we shelved the coalition with our lawyer. That way we knew that if we needed to pull it down, invoke 5 directors, and reenact the company, we can do that, and not have somebody else just run around saying that they're the coalition, or that they've done anything that they haven't done. So that's kind of what some of that's about. And because my phone's smashed, you can see why I can't. Yeah, I got to get it fixed today, but you can see why I can't. I can't even get in here for the comments, it seems. Weird. Yeah, that's only a minute long. There's no way that's it. I will find myself eventually. But yeah, again, going back to that, if you guys don't, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't believe that there is a global war, a global push to monopolize Canada and the world, like literally monopolize, we got serious problems. Other countries are not as free as Canada and America, and are able to push back as well as we do. That part I do know. Geez, let me get in here. So yesterday, them banning us in other countries, and now I can't stream to my public page right now. I can only stream to my profile page that I'm on today. That's why you guys are wondering why I'm jumping from one page to the other. It's not me, it's Facebook. And they also purged our group. We had a 13,000 member group that they purged it down to 10,000. So I'm not quite sure. I thought we had a mass exodus, and I was like, oh my God, what did I do? I thought, holy crap. But it turned out that it was apparently a Facebook purge of some sort. I'm assuming dead accounts, maybe. I've had that group for a lot of years, and people make accounts and then close them. And I think maybe Facebook, to clear out their server, will purge it once in a while. But you know, it'd be nice if they told us, hey, we just did a Facebook purge of all dead accounts, because then when we wake up and we see 3,000 people are not in our group, then we know what to do about it. Right now, I'm still confused about it, to be quite frank. I wish people knew my phone was broke. No. Yep. The last one I was able to do was the 210 party. So after the 210 party, something happened after that, where either Facebook and I know Facebook changed their algorithms, YouTube changed their algorithms, and that was to purge all the fake accounts, the botted accounts, the people with fake numbers, you know, trying to make themselves sound like they have 100,000 followers, but they only have like 5 likes. And it's like, yeah, but dude, you're legit, you know, you're like on fire. The only thing after doing this for 11 years is you want to see the system treated right, and I think that's where Facebook might or might not be going. I shouldn't really speak for them. Pissed me off. I can't find my own show. That is strange as hell. Shit. Facebook team. Cannabis Canada team, can somebody please through instant messenger maybe send me a link to this show? It's funny because I'm looking at it here on my computer. I should open up the second one, and we should just get on with the show, to be honest. Let's interest real quick. This is my problem. This interferes directly with Facebook, and it's very hard to YouTube. To our friends, again, no, they're not going to take me. This is the thing about being an activist. Once you do this long enough, now I would argue my associate Mark Emery was taken over the border and locked up, as we all know. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying he went over and got locked up. He's the only one to be extradited, only Canadian citizen to be extradited for cannabis, and that was part of the BC3 case that we all remember with Michelle Rainey and Greg the Marijuana Man Williams. This was all part of our history here in Canada, and y'all want to know the history on why Mark got arrested? It's because him and Greg and Michelle, all three of them, and a bunch of their entourage, went to listen to the FBI director talk about cannabis reform and drug reform laws. And when they heckled him every time he talked, they paid like $500 or something for these tickets. But every time he would talk about cannabis being bad, Mark Emery and these others would heckle him. And it's the FBI director of America. Now, at the time, none of us knew that there was FBI offices in Vancouver, that there was FBI offices in Toronto. We didn't know this. We didn't even know they had jurisdictional power to operate here without our government's approval. But that's how they want us to believe. So when we see Mark get arrested and extradited to the States, not only that, he was moved around to multiple jails, making it very hard for his partner to see him, making it very hard for anything, and really trying to break a man. Trying to break a man for standing up for what was right. No, I'm not a Mark Emery super big fan or nothing. I'm not sticking. I know there's a lot of trash talk going out there about him right now, but the Emery camp in general is an amazing camp. Has done some amazing things. And when we look at geopolitics right now, look at what's going on around the world. The legalization, all the stuff that they banned my show yesterday. They banned it in like 7. I couldn't believe it. 7 countries. More. I have other shows that teaches you how to grow weed. Smoking weed. We're extracting weed. I mean, there's all kinds of shows that I've done, and they aren't banned in other countries. The minute we talk about how to push back against the government and form a movement, bam, you're banned. So I found that to be overwhelming. Good morning, Godz Twisted Sister. Twisted Sister, I want to rock. No, I was never a singer, but I definitely remember that shit, man. That takes me back to being a kid. I actually made my day starting to think about that. I want to rock. Anyway, yeah, flashbacks to when we were kids, and here in Vancouver, we got a lot going on that I want to be careful what I say. I've been talking about the legal case, the constitutional challenge. This is why we were banned yesterday. So YouTube, you might as well ban me again today. But we were talking about this yesterday, and we were pushing hard. At the moment, I've got a bunch of things going on here because I was down. I've had a few gifts dropped off. I don't know. I've got some Zeus shatter, some pink Galico shatter, which is this stuff. I've got some Pink Kush Crumble Shatter. I don't know. There's all these little samples you get dropped off. CBD Isolate. Most importantly, I think that I wanted to show you guys was we picked up some of these when we were out at their depot. But the Herbal Passion's got their new stuff going, and it's kind of cool because they've got on the side of it, it's purity. They've even got there's 4 carrier oils and a binder. What I mean is you use binding solution like a soya lictin or whatever to bind your molecules and make sure that you get optimal bioavailability. And you might wonder why we use avocado oil. Avocado oil, this company chose to use simply because the triglycerides are basically the same as MCT oil at $20 reduced price. So it's important to understand your oils, understand bioavailability and how it works, and you'll also see this is important in my own opinion anyway. You could buy a tincture bottle like this and you wouldn't know that it's tamper proof or not. Somebody could open this up in the store, drop something in there, who knows. I like the idea of tamper proofing, so the company went and tamper proofed them. So it's got like this plastic seal on top, and basically that in and of itself, it's hard to believe that this would go for $600 in Australia right now. That's a whole other story, but that's straight CBD oil. And another thing they didn't seem to want us talking about, 99% CBD. The hemp farmers are getting involved in all this stuff. I got to get back to trying to smoke this. Every time I light my joint, I start talking, and then it ends up, which you shouldn't do, burn out. But okay, thanks, Evelyn. I keep talking here and not checking. I think it's just my phone, honestly, guys. Look at it. I mean, the only good thing is that I know I got my case. I know that I phoned yesterday to make sure I had insurance, and you know, aside from paying a small deductible like any other insurance, it is what it is. So no, I'm baffled because I'm right on my own. I'm gonna restart my. Oh, I better not restart my phone. I dropped it. Well, none of this is even helping me. I'm assuming I'm on my profile page, and I can't even watch my own show today. So there's definitely some weird stuff. If you guys see stuff going on with your groups, if you hear of other activists, other social media hosts, whatever the case is, if you see that, please let me know. Okay, thank you, Evelyn, for sending me that, or whoever it was that just sent me that link. I couldn't see the person. I'm assuming I'm on my profile page, and I can't even watch. Damn, it sounds like I'm loud. Let's move this mic away a bit. I don't want to block my face. I'll back myself up. All right, I can sort of see your comments, but I can see them over here as well on Facebook, and I'm also paying attention to YouTube where I can see them very clearly. For my friends, really bad all over. No, I can't read my comments as they come in. That really sucks. Smoking with you. Honestly, I'd love to have you guys here. My dream and my hope, my aspirations would be to have what I once had, which was a studio. I was working with some people that, if they weren't such assholes and sharks and liars, then it wouldn't be so bad. But because they're hustlers, manipulating, lying little pieces of crap, I couldn't work with them anymore. And I'll just leave it at that. Punch in Cannabis in Canada, and you'll see who's riding off my dick still. And I'll leave it at that. get your lawyers, get your cease and desist letters. But that being said, at least now I can sort of be in the chat. I can sort of read some of these. I see crack bad over really want phones XS. I'm trying to read your comment. I think it's James Roper. I'm trying here, man. I'm gonna stick with these comments because I can flip back and forth between this. It's making it very hard. Why couldn't I do what? I'm not sure. I can't read the bottom comments. I'm gonna have to wait. There's a delay for them to come through on Facebook. Just like there's an even longer delay for them to come through on YouTube, which is interesting. This particular strain, somebody was asking what strain I was smoking. You can see good cured weed. If you turn your jar upside down, it'll all stick together and clump together like this. That's because it's sticky, icky, ooey gooey. And then the other test, when you know your weed, is just to put it down. And, oh, here I go saying when you know your weed. And just kind of push down on it. And this is what I used to call the sticky test. Now, we don't know how to test it any better than that. But when you look for sticky, icky, you want to know that you got good, gooey cannabis. You know, you cured it nicely. Then that's the way to do it. However, I didn't mark what strains these are. These are the single test strains. These are the plants we do one at a time. And then I just put them in little jars like this. Usually I wouldn't use a plastic lid. I suggest using all glass if you're going to cure. Whole different topic. Purple OG. What am I going to do here? I'm going to do this pink gelato. So I got my dabs, I got everything set up, and the other thing is oh shit, what was the other news that I got yesterday? Oh, legislation. The legislation to try, we were talking about this again yesterday. When are they going to release our brothers and sisters that are in jail for possession and or cultivation in and of itself? No other charges. Those people should have been released the day we legalized, in my own opinion. But if it has to go through a certain process or legislative process, well then let's make the legislative process start. These people are suffering for no reason. If legalize means to decriminalize and not punish people anymore for doing a said thing, then it's awful confusing for me for why these people would remain locked up, whether they're our brothers, our sisters, it don't matter. Equally, we have people doing time for victimless crimes to begin with, and even worse, they're still doing time post legalization, and I think that has to be addressed. And our failure to address it, we're really failing our culture. We're failing our warriors, our brothers and sisters that helped us to really get here and get to this point. So now, dabbing. Let's get into some dabbing. Everybody likes to talk about dabbing. So I stopped by Corona Health Foundation. Now, you guys may not know, again, I talked about this on yesterday's show. I showed John Conroy's letter. It is on my Facebook page for people to view it. It is the next constitutional challenge that's going to be filed once again against the federal government of Canada to hopefully make things better for all of us. Good morning to everybody on YouTube that's joining. The one thing that I would say, wow, it's one of those weeks, man. The one thing I would say is that we've got all these companies, and I don't know how this is going to play out, because we got, whether it's good shatter, whether it's, I mean, there's so many different consistencies here. I got like a toffee consistency. I've got like a crystally crumbly consistency. That's what I mean by it's good to shop around and see what's out there. What I was going to say about Corona Health Foundation is that they are the last remaining, really not last remaining, but there's the dispensary, Dana Larson. There's the British Columbia Compassion Club Society. I think Jamie is still there. I'm not sure. Jamie Shaw used to be there. But these are the people that are going to be fighting for if you're a medical user and you're looking for medical dispensing, and to be treated different than when it comes to using your medicine, be treated different than the recreational weekend warrior when it comes to purchasing your product. So that's something that matters a lot to us, and I think that will potentially make a lot of change. We got 420 coming up. It's just around the corner, and what do you got here? Almost 35 days. No, April 20th. Yeah, so 2 months almost. So people start getting your tents ready, start getting everything ready for 420, wherever that's going to be, whether you're celebrating it in Toronto or celebrating it out here. It's the first year of legalization in Canada, first summer of legalization. They were laid out of the gate as usual with legalization. They've been pretty much laid out of the gate, period. That's made it very hard. Anybody from the Cannabis in Canada group, I've already asked this earlier in the show, but can you please share the show into Cannabis in Canada? It appears we're just dropping. It's because Facebook has forced me onto my profile page. I don't know why they won't let me live stream to my public page. And it might have the same reason to do with why YouTube just banned us in other countries. On yesterday's show, when yesterday's show was more topical or topic driven on politics and law and overturning government policy, I think that's why it got banned, because I wasn't given a message. Usually YouTube will send you a message and say you're copyright for this, or you're this for this, or you broke community standards by by doing this. And that's important to remember. I'm going to switch off here, let you guys look at some Beard Brothers shatter, do a dab. Please share this around. I really can't. I'm really stuck here. My hands are like literally tied behind my back. We're halfway into the show. We got about 30 minutes left. You guys will be able to see some top shelf shatter here. I'll probably play, well, that's like a 10-minute video. Actually, you know what? I'll play the 4-minute drone footage. I played this yesterday, but with 420 coming up, it's good for us to remember our roots. Let's remember where we came from, what we fought for, who we love, and what we stood in the rain. At least me. I'll speak in the first person. 25 years of standing in the rain. For legalization. Wasn't to have this legalization. It wasn't to have corporatization and monopolization of we the people in a free and democratic society. It was not to be this way. They legalized and increased criminal penalties. They legalized and handed it all over to big corporations with suits and ties and big money, with big lobbyists. Fill in their pockets. Follow the money, follow the greed, and you will find the legalization policy indeed. We the people need to change that. I don't know how we're going to change it. I really don't. I don't know what we're going to do at this juncture, because we are more divided now than ever, successfully torn apart. I think Canada may have to come to terms. I'm hoping Mr. Conroy launches this case and this case goes well. Or Canada is going to have to just come to terms with the fact that, hey, we legalized and we all got hooped, and we're going to pay $15 a gram. And I even feel more sorry for our good, beautiful friends in Australia. I mean, amazing people, but they're getting screwed. $600 for one of these. $600. Because Tilray mailed it to them. I don't know of any $600 mailing costs. So, again, friends, note this. We are legalizing around the world. The World Health Organization, the governing body, now this is probably why I was banned, the governing body reclassified cannabis. Now, when they reclassified cannabis, they opened the door to crush. Well, one, they crushed all the treaties. They killed them. Now, the narcotics control section of it, they want to say, no, we didn't break no treaties, or we're going to get rid of these treaties. All the signing countries to these treaties, most of them are already legalizing. So these treaties are so old, they're null and void. They were based on reefer madness. They were written when they thought that if you smoked cannabis, you were going to stab your wife. That's when these things were written. So these treaties are really null and void at this point, and because of the reclassification by Health Canada, it makes it very hard, very, very hard, when the world governing body on health says cannabis has medical value, and the Canadian government says, but you're not a medical user because I'm going to tax your ass. How you feel now? That note, we did fight and we did push, and I'm proud to say we are the second country to legalize, Uruguay being the first to fully legalize federally. We're the first Commonwealth country to legalize federally, and we're proud to say that. And we're also proud to say we had the first ever medical program where you can legally grow your plants starting in 2001 as a result of the R.V. Parker case. And shout out to Terry Parker. Please share this around, guys. A lot of people don't get notifications, and my Facebook numbers are killing me. I mean, when you count 4 people, I almost want to kill the feed. So please share this around. Invite your friends. Do whatever. We got about a half hour. It's not a super long show. But I certainly don't want to... I'm not sure why Facebook's forcing me onto my own profile. I'm not quite sure what's going on. Maybe if I just go live from my phone and don't use the studio, maybe they'll let me stream straight to my channel. I don't know. I can't explain this part. But here's 420. Now I want you guys to think Vancouver 420 at the art gallery before we went down to the beach. I'm talking 3-4 years ago. This was the last 420 before they moved us, or we moved us, however you want to language it. But thanks to Young Nolo, the hip-hop artist that gave us the soundtrack for this. And, yeah, enjoy the music. Get out your bongs. Do a big rip. Roll up your joints. Whatever you prefer. And let's get back to talking Cannabis. And I think I'm going to close the show out today with a good Beard Brothers video where you guys can just look at slabs of dabs, because that's what we're getting back to. We're getting back to just trying to live, you know, trying to get back to normal life in this quasi. I keep saying we're on a boat. It's like legalization is like being in the ocean on a really bad storm, and you're just rocking all over the place. And just when you think you got your footing, another wave hits, and all of a sudden you go another direction, and it's very, very hard. It's very, very hard on any given person to do that. You know, it really is. It's very hard. And to see your friends get destroyed, and to see businesses get destroyed, to see brands get ripped apart, to see people turn on each other, to see people, you know, attacking each other, not realizing that they have plants. When I say they, being the corporations, they have plants in the cannabis culture. Those plants' sole obligation is to disrupt and, where possible, divide cannabis groups. Hence, there's no coalition anymore. I won't get into the other brands that have been smashed, because I'm not into brand bashing, because it's unfortunate that their Canadian homemade brands have been bashed and smashed because of federal monopoly, because of a federal monopoly, bureaucracy, bad legislation, lobbyists, big power corporations, big money plays, geopolitics, and the political arm working with business, which is a conflict of interest and should result in a full-on investigation into conspiracy and corruption between not only Justin Trudeau but also Mr. Harper, who started the whole legalization scheme, and allowing these big corporations to come in, because they may ban this show again today. Go ahead. You can't silence the voice of a free people. Not over a plant that doesn't kill anybody, and not over a plant that actually heals people. And God damn it, we're healers, we're not dealers. See you guys when we get back. But this is 420, 4 years ago here in Vancouver, and you can see in downtown Vancouver when we take over many streets, you can see how it goes. I'm also going to pull down another one to show you just how, if you're in a smaller town and you're thinking, well, we can't have our 420 because the cops always surround us. I'd like to show you another video how we stopped the police here in Vancouver from stopping Cannabis Day. So on that note, we'll see you guys in a couple minutes. Love you all, and thanks for tuning in. Our numbers are going up. We're going up here on YouTube and on Facebook, and that's what I want. On YouTube mainly, I'm coming back to YouTube. I'm coming back to my base. I've been on there. I've got 27,000 subscribers. It's not a lot, but I've been doing this 11 years. When you take 5 years off to go fight the federal government, you know, it doesn't do your channel well. But when you come back and you're here and you're putting out content every day and you're talking and engaging with your crowd, man, your numbers are going to go up. Commitment. Stay committed and make sure you're bringing content to the table, and you will succeed in what you want to do. And don't ever let another man or woman put you down. Don't ever let them tell you what you can and can't do. Just because you're in a slump with your company, don't let anybody tell you what you can and can't do. It's all about empowerment. Because when you're empowered, you act. And when you act, you get results. Coalition was based on collective peer empowerment, collective peer action. Good example of collective peer action and collective peer empowerment is going to be in this video. See you in 5 minutes.
Colorado, it is now legal to have 6 marijuana plants in a secure area.
We be smoking weed, no stems and no seeds. We about to smoke and I'll be lighting up that weed. We be smoking weed, no stems and no seeds. We about to smoke and I'll be lighting up that weed. Smoke weed like Bob Marley, getting high and I like to party. Mary Jane stimulates the brain, she blow the smoke, take away the pain. My dream house in my greenhouse with a flat screen and a big couch, half baked with a big bomb. Smoke it all till the weed's gone. Smell good, my weed strong, my money stack and my weed's long. Smoking Keisha, Wiz Khalifa, Snoop Dogg when I'm around the reef. It's beautiful when I roll up, it's like fine art when I burn it up. Smoking loud, we gon' turn it up. Smoking loud, we gon' turn it up. We be smoking weed, no stems and no seeds. We about to smoke and I'll be lighting up that weed. We be smoking weed, no stems and no seeds. We about to smoke and I'll be lighting up that weed. Put your lighters up, let's spark one. Get high, let's blaze up. It was a long day, we lighting weed, we smoking, we don't give a fuck. Roll up, no stress, smoke weed, no protest. 420, we live, I roll it up in my weed ride. Put your lighters up, let's spark one. Getting high, let's blaze up. It was a long day, we lighting weed, we smoking, we don't give a fuck. Roll up, no stress, smoke weed, no protest. 420, we live, I roll it up in my weed ride. Grinding all this weed, we gon' have to break this up. Mary Jane's my main bitch, won't you come get fucked up? Oh, you don't smoke no weed, well I can't say what's up. In memory, yo whack ass, when I light this up. Rolling it up when I'm blowing the weed, smelling the smoke and you know that it's me. Puffing on good and you know who it be. Smoke like a hippie, come fuck with a G. Light it up when I blaze one, light it up when I blaze one. We gon' smoke piff when that haze come.
Smoke piff when that haze come.
We be smoking weed, no stems and no seeds. We about to smoke and I'll be lighting up that weed. We be smoking weed, no stems and no seeds. We about to smoke and I'll be lighting up that weed. Put your lighters up, let's spark one. Get high, let's blaze up. It was a long day, we lighting weed, we smoking, we don't give a fuck. Roll up, no stress, smoke weed, no protest. 420, we live, I roll it up in my weed ride. Put your lighters up, let's spark one. Get high, let's blaze up. It was a long day, we lighting weed, we smoking, we don't give a fuck. Roll up, no stress, smoke weed, no protest. 420, we live, I roll it up in my weed ride. We be smoking weed, no stems and no seeds. We about to smoke and I'll be lighting up that weed. We be smoking weed, no stems and no seeds. We about to smoke and I'll be lighting up that weed.
Medical marijuana starting to feel anxious again since the Canadian government announced the system's about to change. Soon there will be no more medical marijuana produced and distributed by the government, and no more growing regulated marijuana from home.
Jason Wilcox has been organizing the coalition against the repeal of the medical marijuana access regulations, particularly the personal production licenses and designated production licenses.
I believe in patient options. You should be able to go and have somebody grow it for you if they have the place in the room, the ability, or order it from a pharmacy or a big business, whatever you want to call it, however the program is modeled. And then you should also have the right fundamentally, especially if it's to put in your own body, just like when you smoke it, you should have the right to grow it.
Health Canada will, if successful, only license large-scale commercial operators who produce our medicine at up to 4 times the current cost.
Government is simply hijacking and cornering the market, my friends. The issue is getting up to 26,222 legal growers, trying to get as many of them as possible to understand and unite and get on this file so that we can actually be prepared. So when Health Canada chooses to make their move, we're all prepared to take it on.
A federal judge has approved an injunction allowing current licensed medical marijuana users to continue growing their own pot past April 1st.
A court in British Columbia ruled users can continue growing their own pot for now. This decision comes less than 2 weeks before new laws for medical pot take effect in Canada.
This is huge news, and then so many patients right now, they're not suffering tonight. Tonight they're going to get to sleep. It's very hard for me not to get angry and frustrated as I think about the 500 plus impact statements I've read of people paranoid, and not just paranoid, God-given fear of going back onto pharmaceuticals because of what the government's doing now to medical patients. It's unconstitutional, it's not Canadian, it's unethical, and it's not right.
My doctor, he wouldn't take my MRIs, he wouldn't send my MMR forms. And through other things, I was really having a tough time. But it seems that one major stressor, removing that threat of losing my garden by the government, even having the threat of armed guards coming into my home to make sure that it's shut down, really hurt me and hindered my healing. And that was the beginning.
I'm aware of people who don't have a medicinal license, who buy their marijuana from medicinal growers.
I would use the analogy though too, that we look at how many drunk drivers and people on pills right now are going out driving drunk and killing people. We police the drunk drivers, we don't throw all the cars off the road. And that's what they were trying to do with the patients, and I'm glad that justice stepped in and interfered and allowed the Constitution to have a chance to put the MMPR under constitutional scrutiny.
Right.
I just really hope that we all get what I think we deserve, which is freedom. And that's what this is all about.
The coalition of what's going on, these are people that are willing to stand up to the government with their endless amounts of money in pockets and, do what we can, hit the streets, hit the roads, canvass, talk to people, just go out there and promote to one person at a time, change perception and views by, articulating truth. And, I'm proud to be a part of that movement.
Now we're at $180,000 raised. What are we looking at over and above the $250,000 that we originally set out?
I'd have to estimate high. I'd have to say, look, let's shoot for $1 million because who knows? You've seen the attitude of the federal government. They recently are putting ads on paid for by the taxpayers about the dangers of cannabis. It's just another herb.
There's going to be a lot going on in the next year. It's our one big historical chance. Either we make it happen or we don't.
It doesn't matter who you are or what you are. If you have a belief in ensuring that people's rights should be taken care of, you should be donating.
It's for the people. It's we the people who want this, and it's coming.
People needed access to these products because it helped prolong and help save a lot of suffering.
this is going to end. We're past the point of whether we will or will not win our gardens. We will. So yeah, you licensed producers, you better be worried. I'm not going anywhere. This is far from over.
I'm pretty confident that you're going to win. I mean, you can't guarantee it, but I feel like that's going to be a preserved thing, the right to grow your own cannabis for medical purposes, as it should be.
I think that we got a super strong case. I'm really looking forward to what John can do in the court, and I hope it's heard fairly and with an open mind.
I hope we legalize, but again, I hope we legalize with gardens so that there isn't this fight that I worry about between the underground, these growers that exist, and I know them. You know, the BC economy is almost run by these growers. You know, if that starts a gas war, then security is going to go up because the gangs get involved or real organized crime gets involved. I say, why doesn't the top down first recognize it as medicine, take it out of the CDSA, classify it as a safe and harmless herb it is, and call it and put it into herbology, or put it back into pharmacopoeia and let the doctors prescribe it the way it should be, and look after the damn patients. At the end of the day, it's about the patients.
All right, welcome back to Cannabis in Canada with Jason Wilcox. I love to see the numbers climbing. Love. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll just keep it going from there. It has been interesting. I love coming back to YouTube. We're at the 51-minute mark. I don't know if I'm going to go on for past an hour. I got a lot of stuff to do, from fixing my phone to, yeah, I got to get to the gym. I had to pick up some other medications before I went there for myself. Vicky just got back from her yoga. She's like dedicated. She's going to be a yoga master, I think, one day. It's funny because I've only met one other guy that said he was a yoga master, and it just happened to be the guy I really despise. But so I can't hate yoga just because I hate that guy. But but honestly, I've actually done yoga with Vicky, and I actually tapped. I have to be honest. I mean, I'm not a pussy. I'll sit here and bang weights with anybody, bang fists with anybody, not a problem. But when it comes to just sheer overall, holistically using your body, holy fuck, yoga will test your abilities to stretch, and you'll stretch shit you ain't never known you had. You'll be like, what? Goddamn, what was that? That thing didn't exist before. And it's like, that's just a tendon. The doctor will tell you, it's like, a tendon? I didn't have a tendon there before. You know, and that's the kind of shit that happens when you do yoga. And I'm trying to be funny about it because it was my experience. It was going in and really, I really wanted to give it my all and show Vicky I was really trying. And the next day, man, I could hardly get out of bed, and I don't care. I mean, I work out with tough guys that lift heavy weights, and these, I tell you, man, I think any one of them would have tapped too, because we don't work on our core, we don't work on certain areas of our body like yoga does. Yoga does. And from what I gathered from trying it for how long I lasted, one, it does the core big time. But most importantly is you stretch all kinds of muscles. So I am going to explore it further. The only difference is I'm not into sitting around with a bunch of people in a room and having some person yell at me. Now, I would much rather my wife learn the instructions, then we go together, sit down on the beach with our mats, and she teach me yoga that way. I'd rather learn it that way on a one-on-one than to do it in a class setting. But that's personal thing. That's something. I mean, we're blessed to have the beach just down the way, so that's where it's at, and it is fun. I'm telling you now, it's got to be fun for her. I mean, for me, I didn't like it. I don't like yoga. I'm not saying I do. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm saying I'm gonna give it a try, because it's improved her quality of life, so it might improve mine. And I'd be ignorant and an asshole, quite frankly, if I just shot it down without trying it. It's like right now, okay, here's a good example. I almost had a vegetarian relapse last night. So this is serious. This is like no shit. I had a really rough day yesterday. There was some really bad stuff going on. Not cool stuff, just stuff stressful stuff. So anyway, I finally was just like, you know, I'm so tired of eating this plant-based diet. I'm so tired of not liking my food. I'm so tired of just everything. I'm just going to eat this steak fucking sandwich. I'm going to order a steak sub from Subway. And I don't give a fuck what you say, Vicky. I don't give a fuck what the world says. Excuse my language, but honestly, that was my mood. You know, it was just like, fuck it. I'm just gonna just fucking, you
All
know,
time for the baby cows.
I'm sure some people would grab a fucking case of liquor and fucking pound that back, you know. In my case, it was like, I'm gonna break this fucking vegan diet. This vegan fucking thing is killing me. You know, I need my protein. I'm a carnivore. I'm natural born carnivore. Anyway, all that being said, I did not relapse. I came home. I felt bad. I looked in the fridge. I had some leftover pasta that I had made the night before. So I decided to load up on carbs for the gym and keep myself not feeling like I didn't fully. I said to Vicky I would give it a full chance. It's been over 60 days, 2 months. So I've given a plant-based diet a full opportunity. But I have to admit, it hasn't lost me any weight. I'm still sitting at I'd be honest, I'm sitting at 250. But it fluctuates between 248 and 250. But either way, way overweight.
No, you're not.
I got to lose like 20 pounds.
On the other diet we were eating before, you were, both of us, not just you, both of us were steadily gaining weight. Now you've lost a little bit, but you're holding. You're not gaining anything.
Okay. Anyway, the issue of a plant-based diet and whether you're going to lose weight, that's out for me. I really don't care. I didn't start the plant-based diet based on anything more than watching a documentary, and as a activist, it was carbon emissions. I didn't even stop to think that with overpopulation, which we have a problem with, and why they kill kids in China, and you can only have so many kids. It wasn't about what I was going to eat. It wasn't about, oh no, they killed a cow. I'll fucking shoot it in the head myself and go cut it up and eat it. That's not a problem. I'm a motherfucking carnivore. You know, that's not a problem. What bothered me was when I realized that I was participating in carbon emissions that are helping blow a hole in our ozone layer and destroy our earth for the future of our children. That's why I became a vegetarian. No more, no less. Has nothing to do with the fucking poor animals. No, fuck that. I'll fucking put a bullet in its head, no problem. If I know that that cow has no hormones and hasn't been friggin', you know, injected and fucking fed all kinds of shit, I'll gladly kill it and cook up a steak for us. No problem.
I agree with sustainable eating as well. I agree. If you can get farm food, that kind of locally sourced.
Yeah, locally sourced, but even now, can you trust? This is what my problem is. Can you trust locally sourced food? People say BC chicken. And then I see a document. No, this is no shit. They say BC chicken free range, and I'm like, fuck it, A. And then I see a documentary about BC chickens that are called free range. Only these guys are smacking their heads up off the wall and then throwing them in their coop, half alive. And I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, it's supposed to make the meat taste better. It's like they beat up the puppies in China because it makes the meat taste better when they beat them before they kill them. Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. It's like, where's the clock? Where's the little chirping bird? It's like, I mean, I don't know if I'm watching cartoons or what. But I am now, my wife actually just got vegan bacon and she's off to get vegan friggin', I'm not doing the vegan trip. You vegans can vegan off. I'm not quite willing to go that far yet. I might be in years. Right now, I'm perfectly okay. As long as I can eat my eggs and find a way to trick myself. Like this Beyond Beef these guys are smart. You know, I mean, shit, if I was that scientific and I could come up with fake meat, I mean, fuck me. That's a big money grab, because right now we're looking at, okay, shit, now I can have tacos again? Shit, now I can have, I'm thinking, motherfucker, A&W Beyond Beef Burger. I don't know if any of y'all tried it. It's only 30 carbs, I think.
500 calories.
500 calories. It's like super fucking... I would normally not point someone to a fast food restaurant, but if you're looking to play with a plant-based diet, cheap vegetarian burgers right there. Vegetarian burgers at Subway. I'm not saying you're going to like it or love it right off the hop. I mean, shit, I'm not gonna. I don't like it now. I don't love it now. You know, I mean, I'm just being honest. I think I found one dish that I might like, and it was a mac and cheese dish in Victoria, and a lady named Victoria, my buddy's wife.
That's a vegan dish. That's
she
different.
taught me, or she didn't teach me, but she introduced me to a restaurant that actually had food. And when I was done eating it, I was like, that was all vegan? I couldn't believe that it was fake cheese, and it was, I mean, to me, it was just gourmet mac and cheese. So that also helped me to change. But fundamentally,
they were the kicker
fundamentally, for me, it again comes down to carbon emissions. If you think about it, for every person, you need a cow. So, you know, or for every family, if you want it, you need a cow. It depends on how you want to look at this. Then you got all of our cars. So there's the car emissions. There's the corporations' emissions. And then I never stopped to think about it. There's our own emissions as people. But then there's the cows' emissions. Yep. Both in their stools, which evaporate up into our shit. I know this sounds nasty. But just them breathing is carbon emissions. So there's different things to stop and think about. I mean, there was a time when this didn't really matter, but when you stop and you look at it from a logical, scientific position, it makes you feel a little bit better knowing that, okay, I get it now. Like, for me, it's all about activism. This is solely about activism, and then probably the right thing to do. You know what? Just fucking, if you want to eat meat, eat meat. It's a choice. For me, I just don't want to take part in destroying the earth. So if I don't need to eat a cow, then I won't eat it. If I can shoot a deer in the head and go eat with my friends and know that that's wild game, hey, fuck, I'm down. That's not a problem. It's the carbon emissions, the massing of these cows and the massing in these farms and the masses of dumps. And then we can get into the hormones and the food stabilizers and the... man, there's some nasty stuff out there. And I feel sorry for the good farmers that want to give good stuff, that actually do free range and really do follow the rules.
Well, and you know what?
Because the whole system's getting screwed up because people don't... the whole system's getting... Fuck, I hate that. Sorry. I distracted myself again.
The whole system is getting fucked up. But you know, what's crazy is that more carbon emissions, and I didn't realize this till Jason and I started really investigating carbon emissions, more carbon emissions are emitted from agriculture than from our cars. We've all been taught over the last 20 years that our cars and our lack of recycling is what's fucking up the ozone. Well, that's not really true. What's really messing with the ozone seems to be our need for agriculture and our need for meat, and we're clearing land to pop up farms for more cows, more chickens, more da-da-da-da. So honest to goodness, it seems like if we really give a shit about the ocean and the trees and the earth, you know, the more plant-based meals you're consuming, the better. I'm not saying everybody needs to be a vegetarian. Certainly not everybody needs to be a vegan. But you know what? If some folks could maybe choose meatless meals some of the time, we're all making a difference. And you know what? Every time you choose a meatless meal, you're making an impact on the environment, a huge impact on the environment. So it's not just about recycling, it's certainly not just about our cars. And from what I've learned, our need for agriculture outweighs the cars on the road. So, you know, we don't need to get the cars off the road, but maybe we need to start scaling back our need for, like, mass steaks and bacon, right? Just saying.
It is what it is. You know, again, continue to watch. If you're looking for a lifestyle change, if you're a medical patient, if you love cannabis, if you speak Cannabinese, this is a show for you. It's a fun show that we're going to... as I see the analytics going up, it takes me back to when I first started my show. It's a matter of just consistently making myself available and consistently making this show and this chat available, because it's not about me. It's about us. We all share information. We share numbers. I watch the exchanges in the chats, and I see people interacting with each other. They're meeting each other, and that is what social media was all about. It's what it was meant for. And I'm proud to be able to provide a platform where not only can I share my information, but I can learn from you guys. And when I'm lost, I even ask for help. And we will have a competition coming up here where we'll have some free Herbal Passion being mailed out. So stay tuned for that.
What our giveaway is.
You will need to be signed up at Cannabis in Canada Incorporated or CannabisCanadaInc.com.
Share the link now, babe.
So you have to be a registered member of Cannabis in Canada to be part of any of our giveaways.
Absolutely.
That's very important. So please go to our website, sign up accordingly. You could also go to the Herbal Passion website if you wish. I'm not sure if they're open yet. I know that their website's set to launch. So that's important. And as we start to do those giveaways, we used to do them a lot. and then we stopped doing them, and you know, there's reasons for that. There's different barriers to doing that. So through our website, where we can actually do this, we plan to, and we will. Check. All right. Sorry, I was just gonna say we will. What were we just talking about there, hon?
Giveaways.
Oh, sorry, the giveaways. Like these here, like right now, I would love to give one of these away, and maybe I just will. You know, it's what the company asked if I could start doing potentially on the show, and I don't mind giving them away. You know, it's just we're trying to find out what's the best and most creative marketing strategy for our company in the process of giving it away. You know, the mailing fee is not that much on something small, so mailing it out to you guys, not a big deal. We would love to see more people trying CBD, getting the feedback, because you know what really, this is what I loved about promoting the herbal passion, or sorry, the natural remedy back in the day, was that I knew we had a superior product. Working with that company, I knew that we had a superior product. It was easy to promote because I just had to put it in your hands. Once you tried it, your word of mouth was able to build that company out, and now that company's doing very well because of that. So this is kind of how social media and social sharing really works. We're sharing with each other as much as we can. Hopefully that gain's not too high. If it's too loud, let me know, guys. I turned it up so you guys could hear Vicky. She's on the other side of the room. We're using different equipment here at this time. We got everything from the lav mics to the handheld mics, but this is much easier for a show. I could put it up high above us where people don't see it, whatever. But anyway, what was I just covering there?
Make sure you don't miss out on the giveaways.
Okay.
Sharing, because once we get a superior product into your hand, Herbal Passion is the same.
Correct. So go to CannabisCanadaInc.com, sign up for Cannabis Canada. We have a lot of you are already signed up, but you have to be signed up, and then what's going to happen is you'll see promotion, and we'll often send out a blast email. So when you're registered, we get your email, we'll send you an email and let you know competition if you're interested. You can always unsubscribe by hitting the unsubscribe button if you don't wish to be part of the email list. I get that in this modern day of emails. That being said, if you are interested in something like that, then go sign up. It gets you on there. You'll get a blast email, and then it'll say go to the web page. The web page will give you a set of instructions. Maybe go like Instagram, go to Facebook and like that page. It might say go make a post about whatever, you know, for your chance to win. And provided that you follow all these steps. And what's interesting about the internet, and we showed this when we did the 12 Days of Christmas giveaway, we can track that you actually did all these steps.
Our webmaster is awesome.
Yeah, our webmaster is really good, and he can actually track that all the steps have been done by each individual person. Then your name goes in the hat, and every week we pull, and we give away one bottle of CBD, and 1,000 milligrams at that. So again, the federal government would like to restrict us at 30 milligrams of CBD per tincture bottle. And here is 1,000 milligrams. Sorry, I'm not. You're laughing. I'm like, what?
I would need 300 a month.
What are you laughing at?
Sorry, I'm laughing at the absurdity. You know what? I shouldn't be. You know what? After I get over the laughter, I'm gonna get angry. But it truly is the absurdity in, you know, a product that, if your starter dose, if your average dose for any human on any given day is 25 to 30 milligrams, I would have to drink a bottle every single day just to get the average starting dose.
That's what I'm trying. That's what I'm trying to say.
Health Canada, fuck you.
No, it's not F you to anybody. You know what? It's like government. We're gonna tan your ass, and we're gonna tan your ass again, and we're gonna tan your ass again like a little baby. Enough. And then we're going to have a free and democratic market, a free and fair market. But it is going to take conviction. You have to have conviction. You have to stay committed. And you have to be willing to work, even with people sometimes you don't like. You may not see eye to eye on other ideologies. That's okay. The fundamental common denominator and common ground that we find is that we all love cannabis. And for those that are patriots to their country like I am, it's your solemn obligation. If you see that there's a regulation or a law that is hurting other civilians of your country, it's your solemn obligation as a patriot to oppose that law or regulation. Now, I might sound a little old school, like an old man that way, but you know what? My forefathers, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, they died in the wars for my freedoms that I sit here and live now. So I believe very much in my country, my countrymen, my countrywomen. I believe in our freedoms. I believe in our democracy. And I believe in our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. If anything the Trudeau family did right, Pierre Trudeau wrote the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And thank God for that, because if not, we would not be able to fight back against monopolies, and we would be like Australia, paying $600 for one of these.
Wow, with no real rights to human rights, no human rights, because there aren't any. There's no democratic rights written for the human. It's hard to imagine here, but in Australia, they don't even have the right to protest. I mean, it was insane not being allowed to protest. You know what I mean? In a what you think should be a free and democratic society. Essentially it is. They are democratic because they vote for their politicians and their governing body, but the people don't really have a say outside of that. Outside of that vote, that's all they have. It's ridiculous. You know what I mean? You felt stifled. They're completely stifled. They didn't have a Charter of Rights and Freedoms. They didn't have an oath of an oath to the country. They had nothing. It was shocking and overwhelming to be in a democratic and free society that didn't seem like it was protected. And when you look at patrons like people like Jenny Hallam, who is, like you said many times, Jenny Hallam is Australian version of Rick Simpson. She was giving away RSO to sick people, to cancer patients, to children with epilepsy, and her government screwed her so badly that this poor woman was forced to plead guilty, and sometime around April 20th, which is only a joke, but they do these things on purpose, right? She's going in and around the 20th to find out how long she's going to jail for giving away medicine. She never charged $1. There was no drug sales. She gave it away. Can you imagine saving human lives, and now you're going to go to jail? And she never charged anybody $1, man. So sometimes I forget. We're very lucky here. I may not like the regulations. I don't. But you know what? We really are very lucky here.
Friends, if you're interested in the Jenny Hallam story, you can check out Cannabis in Canada. Sorry, I have this microphone on my face now. Yeah, Cannabis in Canada. If you go to the webpage, there goes my dad. Shit. Cannabis comedy. There you go. That's how you pooch your dab. So anyway, pooching your dab on Cannabis in Canada. If you want to know more about the Jenny Hallam story, I've had her on my show, not only while we were in Australia. What's going on with this microphone? Not only while we were in Australia, but also while we were here. We had did a blog and a full story on Jenny. And the reason is good, and I've said it many times, she is Australia's Rick Simpson. Rick Simpson didn't care to make a lot of money. He just wanted to share that you could potentially cure cancer with this oil. And they criminalized him, marginalized him, invaded his home with no proper warrants or uniforms, just agents of the state. So are we really a free and democratic society? If you see me get locked up soon, then you know what's up, I've seen and heard back in the day they used to do it a lot. Overseas they do it a lot. You speak out against your government, they lock you up. They find a reason to shut you up. So
that's what they did to her, because she was saving lives.
And she was, well, this is the thing, Jenny Hallam was showing what the oil can do. So now, as some of y'all seen on Facebook, there's a picture of a tincture bottle with a little label that said $600. That was for Australia. And it was from Tilray. I've been saying it since 2012. These companies, there's no shortage in Canada. There's no shortage of weed. This is like the weed mecca. The problem is, the licensed producers are shipping it all overseas. They're making distillate and they're shipping it overseas. They're making shatter, and they're shipping it overseas. You guys think they're not making it? I can assure you, I've been in their labs. I've been in the big corporations' labs, and I've seen some of their distillate machines. They're as big as my condo almost. So they're not screwing around. They're not selling distillate here because 10% distillate, I don't think is going to go very far compared to our 99.8% distillate. Just saying. Where they're even going to go with this country. Anybody in the other countries watching, please understand. Unite. Get yourselves ready to fight. Because I can tell you, legalization is coming to America. Geo-legalization is happening. And whether it's medical at first, which is what they like to do, they like to try to pad it in through medical, we didn't lie to you for 80 years, but we're going to bring it in on the compassionate grounds. They don't want you to know. They're not going to come out and say like they did here in Canada. They actually boldly came straight out and said, you know what, we lied. Marijuana with an H, that's just a slang. And it's like, no shit, dickheads. Thanks for fucking updating us. But the federal government of Canada tells the civilians, hey, we lied to you for 80 years and marijuana is just slang, so we're going to call it cannabis now. It's true botanical name. It's true scientific and medical name. And that's how we're here. I want you guys to think about this. There was a marijuana for medical marijuana access regulations. So there's marijuana in 2001. Then they came out with the marijuana for medical purposes regulations. That's when they were going to remove all the gardens in Canada and they were going to have their corporations supply us through their mail order system. Again, that's marijuana using it the second time. We kicked their ass in court. They're still under a restraining order that I put on them. I know it sounds crazy, but I put a restraining order on the federal government of Canada and it's still on them right now. That being said, they still do not. People need to really look at this for what it is, because we have kicked their ass in all those. We were not wrong in these. R.V. Smith, I talked about this yesterday. R.V. Smith says you can have cannabis in all of its forms. And then I see Health Canada saying, oh, well, because this licensed producer doesn't have it, you can't have it. Nor can you go get it from your friend. And I'm like, what the fuck? What is legalization? It's legalization with provocation. And that's never good. Anything with provocation is never good. But legalization with provocation is bad for Canada. And right now, people are being provoked. They're being provoked to either just grow. Health Canada's sending back licenses 3 times to patients who have bigger gardens because they don't like it. Tough shit. They're going to continue to provocate and provocate and provocate, or as our French friends would say, provocateur, provocateur. That's what they do best. Y'all remember the Geo Summit that happened in Ottawa? Who all remembers this? When the police came in and we actually seen the police approach the line. That was police provocateurs. So if you don't think the RCMP put undercover cops in to start riots at peaceful demonstrations that protest against geopolitics, government regulation, they put cops in to make those groups blow up. And preferably start a riot so they can bring in their full squad and use their toys and spray people with mace and use their sound blasters in our ears. I've been there, done it, fucking been doing it for 25 years. I ain't gonna stop now. And I protested a lot of different shit. Even women's rights. There was a women's rights protest that I went to, and it was because I believed in what was going on. There's certain things, again, as a social justice activist, you don't just focus on one thing, you focus on social justice. And society is the social. And something we need to really look at as a company, as a country, we need to look at this. Because our country allowed our government to work with multi-billionaires like Galen Wesson, I'll throw his name out, and Chuck Raffishi, who made his first $1 million. He was the chief financial officer of the Liberal Party. Think about what I'm telling you. Chief financial officer, CFO of the Liberal Party, Chuck Raffishi, has no money when he starts. He's just the CFO. I mean, he's doing good for himself, but he's still just CFO. Makes $1 million off the founding of Canopy Growth Corp. And Tweed. You're working in government, Tweed's corporation. You two aren't supposed to work together. And if I'm wrong, please tell me, lawyers. Please tell me in the chat. Anybody tell me where I'm wrong. Because it is certainly conspiracy. It is certainly a conflict of interest, at the very least, to have corporations working directly with the legislative arm to corruptly monopolize the people of Canada in a free and democratic country. I'll keep saying this, free and democratic country. Your right to liberty was upheld 16 times over the issue of cannabis. Right up to R.V. Smith, to this shit. Taking your fucking shatter. This is why we went to R.V. Smith. This costed $1 million. Why? Why do we have to go all the way to the Supreme Court just to say patients should be able to use this because it can't kill them? Cannabis in all of its forms. Know your rights. And God damn it, I'm going to pull up on break. I'm going to pull up. I don't even know how long I'm going to go today. I'm going to kind of play this by ear with Vicky. But I didn't get into the Cannabis Act yesterday. I wanted to show you guys the non-medical terms. When I say that, they say we're non-medical users. Hardest part not to rant about that is that if we're not medical users, right, then why would the World Health Organization reclassify cannabis? Being the governing health body of the world. And I'll keep repeating this. I know I sound like I'm repeating myself. It's because sometimes people are thick-skulled and they don't want to hear it. Or it skips off their skull. We really need to share this information. We really need to understand this is a geopolitical situation. This is not a Canadian thing. I always said Canada's just the footprint. We're just the testing ground. It's like when they tested the nuclear bomb. They needed a place to test it. Well, we're the footprint for the nuclear bomb called legalization. And God damn it went off like a nuclear bomb, didn't it? I'm going to go off the break here for a sec. Let me see what we can play. Here's Miss Vicky O'Brien. She kicked morphine using CBD and infused CBD. It's a very long show, but it's emotional.
Yeah, that's kind of a long video.
That's a bit of a long one. Here's a shorter one. We stopped. We did a stopover in Calgary. I'm just going to keep talking for a minute here. I'm going to think about what to pull down. So I want to pull down something different. I want to actually do a motherfucking dab. So I'm just going to do a dab. So y'all understand that. What are y'all dabbing on this morning? I already said what I'm dabbing on, like 3 different things. And CBD isolate. I call them dip and dabs. So you take a dip and you dab it in the CBD. And then you fucking hit that shit and hoo-wah. That's a bam. That's like that cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. And if you come by and visit, man, you guys are in. Come on in and we will dab you down. You know, that's what this is all about. This is about keeping the clowns out of our town and allowing us to get down now that we're truly starting the summer of legalization in Canada, 2019. Fuck, I love you guys. I really do. I love our culture. It's the only reason I do this show. Vicky once asked me, why do you get up and do this when it's free? Why? When there's only so many people watching you. And it's like, I don't really care if I can get the message out to 5 people, and those 5 people can get it out to 5 people, and so on and so forth. I've done my job. I've already done my job. I saved home growing in the country of Canada. You can't do much of a bigger job than restrain the federal government, put them on trial, kick their ass, and then get your money back. You can't really get much bigger than that. Not as an activist. When you're talking about policy reform, now I might sound awful arrogant saying it, but I'm feeling a lot more confident saying it as I work on this documentary, and I start to realize how much I undercut myself by by worrying about the woes of a few little haters out there that say, oh, well, coalition this, coalition that. It's like, no, motherfuckers, we actually did something. Name another group that actually overturned a federal policy. Name another group that, I mean, again, and the only other group I could name would be the Cannabis Buyers Clubs of Canada. Ted Smith and Owen Smith. Only other people I know that overturned federal policy. We got all this sensible BC and... again, I love Dana. You know I love you, and I love your work. It's not a personal thing. It's saying Dana made a good shot. He made a good run at changing policy, but it failed. Matt Murdoch made a good run at the Supreme Court of Canada, but it failed. You lie on the stand. Very, very important. Rosin, Death Bubba, HTC. What's the HTC again? Something crystals. HTC. What's the HTC mean? I wish I could read what that bottom of that name was. Anyway, the other thing too is as we continue, I'm gonna switch off here to give me a chance just to regroup my thoughts. I was gonna put on the kicking morphine video, but that's not there. I played the other stuff. You know what? We'll play some footage from Lift 2019. It's a shorter break. It'll give me 6 minutes to just stretch my legs and continue. And I would agree. Our country is accountable. You know, let's start on that. Let's start talking about that. I want to pull up the Cannabis Act. I want to do what I failed to do yesterday. What I failed to do yesterday was actually address what I really wanted to show was the language being used on our country. And I would also argue that we are still a free and democratic country and people. And that's not going to change. I'm going to play my victory speech here that I gave when we were going. We did this planting the seeds of liberty after we won in Allard. And we toured across the country, stopping in all the different places and giving out different things and giving out different information about the Allard trial, because we knew Allard set the precedence and forced the federal government to make it legal for everybody to grow a certain number of cannabis plants. And I'll tell you why. If I'm allowed to grow as a medical patient, and then they legalized and said you guys can't grow, it would open up a Section 15 constitutional charter challenge. Because Section 15 of the charter says we're all equal before and under the charter. Like I've often told people, this is not chess, this is checkers, motherfuckers. Let's get with it. You know, we're fighting governments, we have agents. That's a good point. We have agents, we have plants. Just like they put the plants in the jail, they put the plants in the culture now. And these plants are meant to break us apart. It's their job. And they've done it. Look at what they've done to the Emory camp. Like honestly, like they've blown people up. Not blowing them up as in blow up their car. Blew up their business, blew up their brand, or bought their brand, bought their intelligence, their intellectual property. That some of us have put 10, 15, in my case, 25 years into. When you put that much time into your brand, you don't want to have some rich guy come along and steal it just because they know how to write a fancy contract or because they know some fancy lawyers. That's some bullshit. Punch in Cannabis in Canada right now into your Google bar and see who's riding. In order to do this, it's called cyber squatting. Now, the only reason I can't stop it is because I can't afford it. They see it as free promotion every time I say this. Go ahead and hit it because they get more hit counts. Really, they're just the assholes riding off a dying man's fucking URL. Again, I'm 25 years with HIV, and my studio's in my house, and I do it for free. These guys run a studio for business, for profit, and they do what they do, and they still need to ride off my show to get hits, to get people to go to their website. Stop riding off my name. If I could sue you, I would. But guys, punching Cannabis in Canada, please let those motherfuckers know to stop riding off a dying man's name. Because there's nothing else I can do about it legally. I can't afford it. I can't afford to fight them any further. Other than to ask our peeps to let them know that it's, you know, get their own content. You know, don't redirect people, don't be so fucking snaky and scandalous with other people. That's all I can say. Because it's unfortunate on that part. But here nor there. It is what it is. These people have done enough damage, and of course, if you see cyber squatting, you might wonder, well, why don't I just report them? The problem with reporting them is that you got to report them to .ca and see if .ca will pick it up. And because I instructed them to buy that URL when I was working with them, they bought it, and then of course they bought it and they kept the receipts, and that's part of their scam, how they steal intellectual property. But anyway, here nor there, they got it. And but cyber squatting off it's another thing. Owning a URL and selling it's one thing, but you can't just put that URL up and then redirect yourself or have anybody that punches in Cannabis in Canada end up going to that company. By going to that company, that cyber squatting, you're pieces of shit that are just sitting on a dying man's fucking work. And that is for Canada to decide on how they want to do. I already know what the industry thinks of you guys, so I'm not worried. I think you should go back to California where you belong. But here nor there, that's enough on them. On to the positive stuff. Oh, being shown something here. Yeah, no, I think we're blocked again from sharing in the groups. Sorry, guys. I was just reading a thing there. It's only been shared one time, too. This is probably my biggest problem. Bear with me for about 2 secs here. Here's the Calgary. You can listen to the speech just to give you an idea at least what happened after Allard, at least where we were at that juncture when we were crossing the country. We still didn't know a lot. We just knew we won. We didn't know the full details of how everything worked. And some of my numbers might seem a little bit off here. You have to remember, lawyers, when they put all we had 5 lawyers. So when you put all their bills together, it adds up. Anyway, here's my speech from Calgary, and we'll see you in exactly 4 minutes and 35 seconds.
We came down to actually talk about Allard and educate a little bit about liberty and exactly what that means with respect to the win in Allard. A lot of people don't realize that liberty at its core has to do with the right to autonomy. The right to autonomy we all have. It's an international right. That is exactly what Allard was about. So as we go across the country and we're planting the seeds of liberty, we're teaching people, what does liberty mean? What does Allard really mean? It means the federal government of Canada lied, cheated, and stole in an attempt to secure the market in Canada by citing fire, mold, and organized crime. By failing to do so and losing in an uncontested manner, they've opened the door for us to then challenge more and bring in policy in Canada that we could have, where we can all have a free and fair market. I say that term, and people have taken that term and run with it. A free and fair market would have to incorporate licensed producers. As much as I don't like certain Molson Cannabis and Labatt's cannabis companies, we cannot sit there and say patients can't access this or you're a traitor. That's wrong. Patients have a right to choose. There's dignified access. And then there's the issue of whether we want to keep providing for our patients. And I believe that this culture, after being raised under 80 years of reefer madness, we need to continue to do what we're doing here, educating one another, continuing to go across this great nation. We raised $300,000 to take down the federal government of Canada. They spent $1.2 million. Total cost for us was $780,000+ to secure the constitutional right to grow in this country. As a result of Allard, mark my words, I'm on camera, this time next year, you guys will be able to grow in this country as a result of Allard and legalization. Now, looking forward, this is what matters, forward looking. What arises from Allard means that we, the judges, the judicial arm is always on our side, Constitution's on our side. We threw the football back over to the guys who screwed it up and keep screwing it up since 2000, the legislative arm. My fear is they're going to come out, and same with Mr. Conroy, we've had lunch and discussed this, is they're going to come out and they're going to arbitrarily restrict, heavily restrict Allard in any way they can. Now, of course, they can't argue any more fire, mold, and organized crime because they bombed. So the issue of liberty, they can't argue anymore. But they can simply put in unconstitutional caps, which becomes a Section 1 reasonable access issue. And Section 1 of the Charter is just that. It's reasonable access on your right to liberty. I know it sounds sounds kind of silly, but in essence, that's what it means. And personally, I didn't fight to win the right to grow, so they can tell me how many plants I can actually grow, you know, being 6 to 12 or something. That to me is arbitrary. It's unconstitutional, and we cannot continue to talk like we know about this plant while the federal government of Canada says, especially Health Canada, says there's no medical value to marijuana. We have 1 million medical marijuana patients, again, by Health Canada's estimates, as we learned in Allard, that need access. And then you do stupid things like Project Claudia. My own opinion, as time will tell the truth, that was funded. I believe the Metropolitan Police have a big apology, but it takes time to prove these things. But Project Claudia is a prime example of wiping out the old and trying to usher in the new. I've said it on my show for 3 years. This culture is not for sale. You know, we're not just going to sell out. Sure, some of us will go put on a suit and go work for another company. I won't. I'm not willing to do that. I believe that there's a place for everybody in this culture. I believe that it should be a free and fair market. And I believe the plant should not be governed like a gun unless it can actually hurt someone. On that note, this is Jason Wilcox coming to you live from the Cannabis, again, the Calgary Cannabis Club here. This is my second time coming. It's a great crowd. I'm just going to get back to socializing here with everybody, doing some dabs and maybe grabbing a couple of comments from the crowd. And yeah, stay loving the plant and continue to protect your rights. See you in the next segue. Cheers.
Why terp sauce is so awesome. I think you can all agree on that. So essentially this process has been around since I started making extracts. Just things that kind of went backwards. It was all about the shatter and the stability and all that. The biggest thing in shatter and in terp sauce is the THCA. The diamonds help to form the shatter and the crystals help form the shatter, and so do the diamonds in the terp sauce. So terp sauce, essentially there's a few different kinds. We got HT, FSE, which is high terpene full spectrum extract, which is typically a live resin when your terpenes percentage is higher in your starting material. And then we got HC, FSE, which is high cannabinoid full spectrum extract. So we kind of play around with both. We source out the best flowers we can find. Starting material is everything. I'll say that again, and I always say it, you know, you can't turn shit product into something superior. You can with different things, but really with this process, we're going for a full spectrum, so we're not trying to change the plant as very little as possible. We're getting a full cannabinoid spectrum out of it. So yeah, this is some nebula. Some nice diamonds forming in there. It's not quite done yet. You can see it's kind of gooey. Lots of terps floating around. The diamonds are kind of, yeah, it's got quite the nose on it. So yeah, I mean, there's different techniques to, you know, terp sauce. Everyone's got their different opinions on it. Mainly it's about getting the diamonds to crystallize. Some people want just pure diamonds and the terps separate. We try to keep it by calling it a full spectrum with the diamonds, with the terps, untouched, no added terps, not adding diamonds to our terps and forming them separate. We're trying to form it all in one process. And for me, I figure that is authentic terp sauce. There's a lot of shit out there where guys are just making diamonds out of whatever and getting synthetic terps, and it's not the same. You know, all of our products out there, everyone needs to know that, is we're doing it as natural as possible and as safe as possible to get the best end product. This is Zombie Kush right now. You know, the diamonds aren't yet formed. Sometimes the diamonds don't form as easy as you'd like to. That comes down to the grow. Stresses in the grow, overheating the grow, degrading a product, things like that. Sometimes there's just not enough THCA in there for it to form. So we have different stuff that comes out different, but at the end of the day, it's all top shelf. And yeah, we'll start this series of terp sauce. We'll get some footage of some raw material coming up and places like that where we look for different strains we're working with. We also have different tech we can talk, but we're not going to get too much into the tech this point, but we want to share some knowledge that, you know, we want it to keep it as organic and as original as possible, as best you can in a lab setting. And yeah, I mean, really, we just got a couple flavors in here because we are selective on crops that we play with. So we're not going to just go to any crop, whatever, anytime, our crops, you know, whatever, and just go with it. It's got to be a certain level. So most of the terp sauce we put to market is unique and phenomenal.
Welcome back to Cannabis Canada with Jason Wilcox. That was a good dab. Alright. So, you know, it's really hard when you... It gets really hard when you try to bring a community together at times, and you end up running into just, quite frankly, unworkable people. Either way, it also becomes very confusing. It's very confusing times for a lot of people. What I look forward to, yeah, Lee, I'll give you a call after the show when I'm done here, bro. Sorry, yeah, Joe, just the community stuff. Again, there was a coalition formed. Now, my vice president, or our former vice president, what do you want to call us, he gave me a call. I mean, he's very upset and wants to open things back up and make a real stand once again, not just GoFundMe stand, you know, pay my rent stand, or give me a back massage stand, and I'll give maybe 10% to my lawyer fucking GoFundMe, you know, stand. That's not going to work. A constitutional challenge that's real, that's been announced, it's been worked on, and is filed. To each their own with their donations. But to Mr. Conroy and Mr. Lloyd, I like how they set up their one accounts, and this is very important when you think about donating, because we learned this with the coalition. A lot of people didn't know how it worked because we signed everybody to non-disclosure agreements because of the nature. It's never been done before. 15,000 people coming together to fund one case. That's never been done. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of dedication. It took a lot of strategy, but it did work. At the end of the day, it worked. That's all that matters. But again, that's putting action and success behind your work. And you gotta remember, I charged the government. I didn't get charged and then need to defend myself because I was selling shit. I charged the government because what they were doing was wrong. There's a difference. That's why it's called Allard versus the Queen. HTML or whatever it is. That's why it doesn't say, you know, the Queen versus Allard or Regina versus Allard. That doesn't say that. It's because we, or I, put the government on trial via John Conroy and restrained them with a federal restraining order that stopped them from removing 36,000 gardens in this country, pending the outcome of trial, which has now led to forcing the legalization task force to talk about growing, which then led to us to be able to grow. Now that is policy reform, and that is effective change for your country and for your people, and that is bringing people together for a common cause. Not to defraud them, not to live off their money, not to just play games. This ain't a hustle. When you make it a public fight with a lawyer, that public fight should be very much so, especially if you're asking public donations. If it's your own fight and you're funding it yourself, have at it. But when you're going after public donations and stuff, you should be pretty clear where the money's going, and how that stuff's being spent, and that makes it a lot easier for people to donate when they know what it is that they're donating to, or why they can't find a case, for instance. If somebody says that something's been filed, there's a lot of cases being filed right now. The reason I'm talking about this is I know there's a driving case in Ontario. I think there's 3 or 4 different cases being filed simultaneously against the Cannabis Act, and I love that. I love the fact that people are standing up and taking a fight, and we need to fund these fights. Even the Niagara fight, I don't even know the people at the Niagara Club, but I still supported it. I support any fundraising and fights where people want to truly fight for themselves and hand that money over. You see, you got to remember, the coalition, we had to count the money on camera, hand it over to the lawyer. Hell, I handed John Conroy a $20,000 check on stage at 420. People forget this shit. Our checks had to be signed by 3 people. Sandra Colasanti, Raymond Colasanti's wife, urban grower as you guys know him, Paul Hunt, and Jason Wilcox. 3 signatures. No one person could spend any money. And I think that's the difference in the fundraising. So when I see the fundraising, because people have asked me, well, why won't you start a new committee for fundraising? And this is why. Fundraising becomes very hard and convoluted if we don't know what we're doing. Like right now, for instance, there's 2 cases being worked on. You can donate to John Conroy's trust account right now, even though the case isn't filed. You can go donate to John Conroy's trust account because he's going to file it. Him and Jack Lloyd. Right now, they're awaiting word from the BC Supreme Court. So for everybody that's wondering, what do we do while we're waiting for John to file this statement of claim? I covered it on yesterday's show. While we're waiting for John to file the statement of claim, he's already put out a letter, what you're supposed to do. It's on my website. Maybe I'll post it after the show again today here. And you guys can have a read through it. But it clearly says to you, in the meantime, you know, one, you should probably post up the letter that I'm sending you because it's from John Conroy that I post up there. It's not written by me. And Mr. Conroy he sets out what to say if the police come to your establishment and say, you know, you should probably shut down. If you're serving medical patients and medical patients only, and in the context of medication or medical, then Mr. Conroy suggests that you remind them that our lawyers are waiting on word from the BC Supreme Court. If you don't say this, the police officers will just push you aside and potentially arrest you if you're in a different province. These are little things that can help you. If you have a lawyer already in a different province, your lawyer should be talking with John Conroy, and they'll already advise you this sort of stuff to say that we're awaiting we're awaiting word from the BC Supreme Court on the stay here in BC. So because what happens in this province, if we win, will happen, then we can replicate it across the country versus doing a whole nother, federal constitutional challenge. But if they want to keep fighting, our lawyers are basically saying we got another set of gloves in the locker room. That's all they're saying, and we can do another 10 rounds. Not a big deal. Whatever the case is. So people out there that were wondering what's going on with that, there was a lot of confusion around how to do this, and people wondering why we're not doing fundraising. I mean, it's a lot of fun fundraising actually for people attending. You get free dabs, you get to have a lot of fun. We raise a lot of money. I don't see that happening again. That's why we're doing a documentary. It's a historic time where we had a lot of fun. And people backed each other up, supported each other, and empowered each other to do better. They didn't attack each other with conjecture and conjecture and hearsay. Conjecture and hearsay, which is an important thing because our culture has been torn apart. And I believe when you put plants in the culture, a plant is able to then do its job. It's like a virus. Its job is to make a crew, a brand, whatever it is that is any competition to the corporations to make sure that they break apart, because their strength in numbers was demonstrated in the coalition. So who knows what would happen if the coalition was only 15,000 members strong. What happens if we had an organization that was 100,000 members strong, coalition of cannabis users that chose to change laws in this country? That's something that could have been that could have started. We could have started doing, but we didn't. Yeah, sorry, I'm just looking at a couple of things here. It gives you this option to start this party, and I don't understand it yet fully. I'm going to flip back over to
The
YouTube.
watch party, you can invite more people to it. I think that's why.
When I was saying a virus, what was I talking about there? I said like a virus.
Sure.
Shit.
I got caught up with the other thing. Sorry.
I'm sorry, don't be sorry. It's just somebody's asking me, and I'm just either way. It is like a virus in a computer, and it gets worse. But these are agents. I think the better word, Blight's got it right, is really agents. They're agents for the corporation, though. They're not police agents, because the police don't police cannabis anymore. So these corporations, just like in a jail, if they wanted to find out information to clean up their jail, they're going to put plants in there, and those guys are there to ascertain information. So why would it be any different with a big corporation when you're trying to force your corporation onto people? A free and democratic people. This isn't Australia and everywhere else where the court system screwed up. No, we have a Charter of Rights and Freedoms that sets out our liberties and our reasonable access on those liberties. And if they're infringed on, then they can be attacked. But they are like agents and a virus. Yes, well said, Blight. I hope I'm saying that right. Blight 13 on YouTube. But like agents of the state, like a virus, only they're plants. And we have to be careful, because they come in unassuming and they come in culturally, and you wouldn't know who they are. But they're actually there to cause deceit, to drop different information, and to cause often what is usually the better people in our culture to actually come to clash. And we've seen that a lot. We've seen a lot of good brands get hurt this way. So hopefully we don't see this continue with legalization going into as we continue to go into the summer of legalization, or we're just really handing it. We may as well just hand everything over to the licensed producers now and tap out, and stop pretending that there's a cannabis culture, and just say there's cannabis users that buy from corporations. I mean, this is really an option at this point for people to decide what they want to do. What they want to do about the present laws. Again, the Cannabis Act, I'm not going to bother pulling it up here, but the Cannabis Act of Canada does not permit medical dispensing. Or doesn't, not so much permit, it doesn't even address medical dispensing. It doesn't address medical needs, medical applications. It talks more about just how to get these licensed producers stores open and how to sell you weed. Like, that's the sole thing. And I would remind you, if it wasn't for Kurt Tusaw and Owen Smith, we never would be talking about anything but weed. Because before, we weren't allowed to have extracts. Remember, it was illegal. It was 100% illegal. Even as a medical patient, even though I was allowed to grow cannabis, I wasn't allowed to have extracts. And I used to try to make the argument, when you harvest, you get finger rub. That's finger hash. That's an extract. So how can I harvest my plants? You want me to wear gloves? This is ridiculous. So this is what I talk about. It's just retarded, lobbyist, overbroad, barrier-ridden policies of the federal government of Canada. And it needs to stop. And the other thing is, lock your genetics down. Be careful of the genetic scraps, especially in other countries. People watching on YouTube, other countries that have these corporations setting up, they're going to come in and if they already allow growing in your country for any reason, or they'll seek out trying to get the genetics. I fear a Monsanto future for cannabis, and that's my biggest fear. Now, it's not going to impact my life, but it's going to impact many other people's lives in the future if that plant is knocked down to just 4 strains because they work with 4 different things, or 20 strains. Cannabis is evolutionary. If we don't look at cannabis for what it is, you can't at least I believe you shouldn't be able to patent evolution. Evolution is when you take like plant A and plant B, you make plant C. If this was plant C, it would have a whole new set of cannabinoid profile and spectrum and terpene profile. Everything would be different, like a brand new baby. How do you patent evolution? It's a question I'd like you guys to take home with you today at the end of the show. How do you patent evolution? We got 8 minutes to go and the show is done. But how do you patent evolution? It's very, very, very important to stop and ask yourself these questions. Because in my opinion, what the government's doing is nothing more than what they did to, quite frankly, what they did to corn and tomatoes. And various other things, and carrots. Carrots used to come in multiple colors. Corn used to come in multiple colors. It comes in one color for a reason, and it's called Monsanto, genetically modified food. And if they genetically modify cannabis, think about it. They're already willing to hit it with radiation to sterilize it, so they can give it to you safely. But they don't know what radiation even does to the trichome when they run it through. That's messed up. It's backwards. It really is backwards. There was a question for Vicky, Nicole, surviving the cold. You guys are chatting in the chat.
I'm just getting over it, but I don't even want to say I'm getting over it, because every time I say I'm getting over it, Heather, it comes back in 3 days. This has been sick since January.
Now we have had.
I'm hoping to God this is it, and I pray that you're feeling better, sister.
We've had a good show. Again, we're not coming on. I've been doing this is now show 6, I think, in a row. Each morning, I haven't set a exact time. Some mornings I set times. It just depends. There's so much going on right now. Like today's fixing my phone, having to get out to the gym, all the stuff that I'm behind on. It doesn't matter. I mean, if your job is your studio, then you want to try to get that back and going. So, I hope that you guys have a really good day today. Get out there and have some fun. Share it around. Let your friends know that if they're bored in the morning and they want to get on and listen to some people or chat with some people in the chat. What I like most, and I keep saying this, is the number of people in the chat, especially YouTube, because people from around the world get to talk. And that matters. Some people don't want to engage in the chat and they watch. Other people really get into the engagement and chatting, and that's the best part of all this. They patent aluminum resistant seeds. Why? I wouldn't know that, Blight 13. I have never heard of any seeds being coated with anything other than spraying them to make them basically feminized, so that you're guaranteed to get females. You can also hermaphrodite your plants if you're not careful with that chemical. That being said, that's about the only thing I know. But Monsanto, the one thing I do know is that they have ruined our food supply in a way. They would argue they've standardized and safetied our food supply, and I would argue that they have potentially endangered us by restricting our food supply and messing with it. Now cannabis, we have land races. Many of us from around this great globe of ours, we have many different land races that these corporations don't got yet. They want them because then they're going to tissue culture them. Once they get a tissue culture, we're fucked. All they need is one cell, one little clip of the top of a leaf. Once they get that cell, they got that strain. Once they got that strain or genotype, if you have it, they can then seek patent on it. Then they can put their enzyme in it and they own it. It's fucked up, but it's how it is right now. So please, everybody, at least take the seriousness in what we're saying. and again, I can't explain anything else except if you're watching this show later and you're wondering why it didn't go to my regular show and you didn't get a notification, I'm not sure why YouTube has either put me in some sort of quasi jail that they haven't told me about, or sorry, Facebook, not YouTube. For some reason, it's just acting out, and I've got exactly about 10 seconds here, but it's been acting out, and that's the long and short of it. So anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Stay blessed. Remember, always punch up. Don't punch down unless you absolutely have to. And yeah, stay lit.